Yeah. OCT retinal pathology diagnosis and treatment.
Anamitra, you are not audible to me. I do not know. Is she audible to you?
Yes, she is audible.
Yes, she is audible to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, OCT retinal pathology diagnosis and treatment made easy. So now I joined the meeting late. So what I heard from Dr. Rao, I think most of the slides have been covered. So for an introduction, the retinal evaluation technology has radically changed over the period of time. OCT is just an optical analog of ultrasound that uses low coherence interferometry to produce cross-sectional images of the retina. What we essentially get is a virtual biopsy. So this you can see that all the 10 layers of the retina can be easily made out. The common retinal scans that we use are the radial scans. It is about 6 to 12 scans at an equal angle from a common point, usually centered at the macula. This is the most common scan used. It takes a lesser amount of time. The raster scan can be of a 5 or a 7 line raster. They are serial parallel lines oriented at any angle over the lesion, and they define the lesion properly. They are of high resolution. A 3D scan are a number of horizontal line scans of a square box of 6 into 6 or 12 into 12. A 3D view implementation of advanced complex analysis, topographic mapping, or a cystic volume analysis can be done with this. What we need to know in OCT is a hyperreflective and a hyporeflective zone. There are 3 hyporeflective zones, so the rest are hyperreflective in a normal OCT. The ONL, the nerve fiber layer, outer nerve fiber, ganglion cell layer, and the inner nerve fiber layer are the hyporeflective zone. The rest are hyper. The areas of interest when we do a retinal OCT is the pre-retina, epiretinal membrane, intraretina, and the subretinal membrane. The indications are vitreomacular interface, where we try to see a vitreomacular traction, ERM or a macular hole. In vascular disorders, in diabetic retinopathies, the RVOs and the CRVO and CRAOs. We might sometimes use it in a subtle case of a subclinical RD, CSR, in age-related macular degeneration, and in high myopic, where the contrast is very less. The VMA is defined as the partial separation of the vitreous in the perifoveal area without any abnormalities in the retinal contour. Usually these patients are symptomatic, might resolve on its own. The International Vitreoretinal Traction Society has classified the size of the adhesion according to the OCT as being focal less than a disc diameter as 1500 and broad as more than 1500 microns. The VMT may be of different type. It may be just a focal VMT like this for producing a cyst, a huge with a retinal detachment type, and a tenting type of a VMT. The VMT OCT classification are a V sepet where it's attached to the central macula, or a J sepet where it's attached to the optic nerve head, or a broad based. Now this was one of our patients with tented VMT, where the patient complained of gross metamorphosia with the visual acuity of 6/12, underwent a vitrectomy, and his vision improved to 6/9. So with this, we can explain to the patient about his condition and later follow up the patient and show him, and to our satisfaction, how successful we are with our surgery. The others are the ERM, a lamellar hole. We can differentiate between these, a lamellar hole and a macular full thickness macular hole. The International Vitreoretinal Traction Society again classified vitreomacular adhesion, traction, and macular hole from stage 0 to stage 4, starting from a VMA to a small and a large full thickness macular hole with or without a VMT. This has already been covered by my previous speaker, the macular hole modified gas classification from stage 0 to stage 4, where a yellow spot is seen to a full thickness macular hole with total PVD, as you can see in this case. It is of quite important in macular holes, like staging of the macular hole, confirmation of the diagnosis. Sometimes the hole may be very small. In differentiating from a pseudo hole, educating the patient, when you show the patient, probably he comes to know that yes, there is a macular hole, there is a separation in between the layers, and you need not explain much about the surgery and all. It's helpful in prognosticating the surgical outcome. You can follow up your patient post-surgery. How is it helpful in prognosticating? If the whole form factor is more than 0.9, the hole usually closes in a single surgery. If it's less than 0.5, then 67% anatomical success rate is seen. So this was again one of my case wherein there was a macular hole with a visual acuity of 6/60. Post-operative 1 month, the patient improved to 6/9. In case of vascular disorder, it helps us in assessment of the retinal thickness. It helps us in quantifying the patterns of the EME. There's an OCT classification for diabetic macular edema, deciding treatment protocol in DME, quantification of cystoid macular edema in venous occlusion, monitoring response to treatment in diabetic macular edema and RVO, and prognosticating indicator as in the ELM integrity and all. In diabetic macular edema, OCT classification is as a spongy diffuse thickening, a cystoid type of a macular edema, serous retinal detachment without a posterior hilar traction, a posterior hilar traction without a tractional retinal detachment, or a posterior hilar traction with the tractional retinal detachment. The prognosticating indicator, as has been already talked about by my previous speaker, the integrity of the inner and the outer retinal layers are very, very important. In this case, as you can see, there is complete loss of the interdigital septate. It shows that the disease is quite chronic. And there is loss of the outer retinal layer. The ellipsoid zone and the external limiting membrane is completely lost. So this patient probably will not improve much in vision and would require a multiple number of injections. It helps in following up the patients also, as in this case of a BRVO, which was a 55-1-year-old female with diabetic and hypertensive. After 3 injections of anti-VEGF, the vision improves to 6/6. So it helps us to follow up our cases as well as show our patients the progression of the disease. This was a 62-year-old female, a central retinal vein occlusion. In spite of 6 injections of anti-VEGF, still there is persistent macular edema. There's waxing and weaning of the macular edema in between. So again, it helps us in follow-up and explaining the prognosis to the patient. In case of central serous retinopathy, it tells us about the nature and extent of the SRF, if there is presence of PED, follow-up of the patient, response to treatment, any complications that arise either in a chronic CSR, whether it may be foveal atrophy, or in case of a long-standing CSR, sometimes you find a CNVM. In case to differentiate between an acute and a chronic CSR, to prognosticating aid also. So these are different types of CSR where you see a serous detachment in the first case, then associated with the PED, then with fibrinous exudate in the central macula. But this was a long-standing case of CSR where there is already a foveal atrophy. OCT proved the same with showing foveal thinning and gross enlargement of the choroidal capillaries. In case of choroidal neovascularization, is a very, very important tool for prognosticating the disease, knowing the lesion type, location, extent, comparing it with FA and ICG, to know if there is a subretinal fluid, intraretinal or sub-RPE fluid. As we all know, intraretinal fluid are the worst and it should be treated in each visit. Subretinal fluid can be tolerated to some extent, and sub-RPE fluid usually wax and wean. It tells about the type of PD, whether it's a serous PD or a hemorrhagic PD, and the response to the anti-VEGF treatment. In case of idiopathic polypoidal choroidal vasculopathy, it tells us whether it's a hemorrhagic, or in this case, there's a large PD with a double hump sign along with hemorrhages adjoining, which tells us that the patient needs a treatment. In case of dry AMD, it tells us about the extent of the disease, monitoring the disease progression, staging and prognosis. In the first case, you can see there is the exudative materials are free of the macula, so the patient will have a very good vision. Whereas in this case, the exudative materials are banked on the central posterior of the macula, so this patient definitely will have lesser amount of vision. In trauma, it helps us to tell us the choroidal rupture, whether it's passing through the center of the macula or sparing the macula. RD, obviously, it can show. In case of a BRAO or CRAO, there is inner retinal layer thickening and hyperreflectivity. As Dr. Rao has correctly pointed out, later in the disease process, there is thinning of the inner retinal layer. So this helps us in quantifying how much of thinning can be seen in the later part. In case of myopia, due to less contrast in the posterior pole, it sometimes becomes very difficult to differentiate a CNVM, a ERM, or a macular hole. So with OCT, you can very well delineate all this. Now, this is a case of a CNVM and this of a macular hole where we were unable to locate it with our 78T. In case of parafoveal telangiectasia, with a shin in the surrounding the macula and pigmentation, you can see the typical hyperreflective layer cystic spaces bang on the macular area. In case of Valsalva retinopathy, it tells us that the blood is just beneath the ILM. Therefore, a prick or the laser will dislodge the blood and then the patient improves in his vision. Optic disc pit, it tells us now there is a pit over here with retinoschisis and fluid and foveal detachment. It also helps us in surgical referral. Supposing in this patient, probably while doing a 78D, we might not have been able to pinpoint this BMT, but with OCT, it becomes quite clear we can refer this patient early. So to conclude, OCT is a game changer and the standard of care for detecting, monitoring, and classifying retinal diseases. For planning the intervention, it's the fastest non-invasive method. It is a good tool for educating patients, giving them knowledge to better understand their condition and increase patient confidence, and for timely referral. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.